and telling me that they had found Jewish survivors and families in various homes, and then I was able to call on them, visit them, and learned a good deal of the survivors from Jewish GIs. Number 7, what was the American Army's reaction to your activities on behalf of European Jewry on all levels? In referring to Army personnel, please try to remember names, rank, and unit they were assigned to. Unfortunately, I cannot remember any names, rank, and units involved. Basically, I had no trouble with American Army personnel. Since I was not serving a unit that was in the forefront, I was with service commands, and that was my work, visiting hospitals, helping soldiers in the various units who were behind the lines. And so it was quite simple for me also to assist the civilians and the survivors. Question number 8. Did you have any contact with the JDC, and if so, how would you describe your association with them? How did you view your role? With whom did you work? How would you evaluate their efforts? I had some contact with the JDC, especially in bringing to their attention the situation among the Jews in Le Havre. JDC had already been in contact with them, and the Jews, the organized community of Le Havre, it became organized after I got there, and they asked me to help them get more assistance from the JDC. They felt that they were not getting sufficient from them, and I brought it up at the JDC office in Paris when I got there. I also was able to be the go-between the JDC and the Jews in the city of Luxembourg. They also felt that they needed a great deal more assistance. And I came to the office. I did not deal directly with Dr. Schwartz, but I was dealing with other people. The only contact I had with Schwartz was, as I spoke earlier, in connection with getting names of Jewish artists in Paris. But I dealt with some of the people. There was one lady, unfortunately I forget her name. I'm sorry I forgot her name. I don't have any record of it now, because when I returned after being discharged to my community in Greenwich, Connecticut, and she returned to New York, she came up and was the guest speaker in my congregation in Greenwich, Connecticut, and spoke of the work that was done by the JDC and by Jewish chaplains, and also of my contact with the JDC. I would bring to their attention the various activities that I had I knew about an orphanage, about old aged homes, and so on and so forth. There wasn't too much contact, I would say, but basically I went to the office. I was at the JDC office at least a dozen times. As I talked, I think there was a gentleman by the name of Jordan in charge of the one of the sections in the JD office with whom I worked as well. I do not think that I am capable or have sufficient knowledge to evaluate the efforts of the JDC. I do know that every time I came to the office, there were literally tens or hundreds of men and women at the office. And they were there to assist as much as they could. Question number 9, did you work with a Jewish agency during your stay in Europe? I cannot say that I worked with a Jewish agency when I was in Europe, except for the time I spent with in Paris. As I went through Paris, went to their office and met with their leaders and heard of the work that they were doing and helped them with information and so on. I left the European continent, at least after the war. I was sent to Luxembourg, and from Luxembourg, when I was sent back, I returned to the United States in December 1945. And the work of the Jewish agency really started, to a large extent, after I had left Europe. Question number 10, what was the nature of your involvement? Please be specific about names, places, and people. Can these people be located today? Now, I think I answered that question previous to this one, that I was not too much involved. Question number 11, did you work with UNRWA? Please tell me about your specific experiences and general impression of their work. No, I was not in Europe sufficiently long enough to be able to work with UNRWA. Question number 12, were you involved with Aliyah Bet? If so, please be specific. How would you characterize your role in this work? No, I was not involved with Aliyah Bet. The same aspect. If I had been in Europe after 1945, if I had been there during 1946 and 47, I would have been able to help. Question number 13, with what other Jewish organizations were you involved during this period? Describe this involvement. I was not involved with any organization as such. Were you ever called upon to smooth relations between DPs and the U.S. Army? Please be specific about places, dates, and people involved. No, I was not involved in this. The only area I mentioned was involved with DPs in Luxembourg and with the Luxembourg government, and that this was not the U.S. Army. Question number 15, were you involved in work within the concentration camps? No. Question number 16, did you ever collect guns, ammunition, money to be sent to Palestine? And no, I was not involved in this work. Were you involved in working with the Jewish chaplains on the Jewish refugee problem? If so, with whom, when, and about what? And the question was answered when I indicated that I worked with Chaplain Hazelcorn in seeing that the children in sections in France that I covered, especially outside of Fontainebleau and around Étampes, where we found Jewish children on some farms, and I was able to refer these places to Chaplain Hazelcorn, and we got the children to the orphanage. Question 18, how would you characterize the role of the American Jewish chaplain during this period, 1944-1948? How would you characterize your role during the period you worked with the survivors of the Holocaust? I would say that the American Jewish chaplains, although they had to work only with the American Jewish forces, went out of their way, every one of them that I came in contact with, went out of their way to help Jewish survivors. They were rabbis, and not only chaplains. And I knew that there were cases where chaplains were accused of neglecting the work that they were doing with the American soldiers, that some of the officers felt that they should not be giving so much time for civilian work, and especially there was an order, as I recall now, there was an order from higher headquarters that indicated that there was to be no fraternization. And this problem was quite a problem for Jewish chaplains. It did not affect me. Somehow I was not involved in this. I wasn't in Germany, so that it did not really affect me. I was able to work with the French, especially French Jews, and the Luxembourg Jews, and people who were living in Luxembourg and in France, although they came, not many German Jews, but there were quite a number of East European Jews, Hungarian and Romanian and Polish Jews. I was able to work with them and never had any problem with the U.S. Army. And I also want to indicate that since I left at the end of 1945, I was sent back to the United States because there was the small unit that I was associated with a headquarters unit, were supposed to go to the Japanese area, to the far east. So we were returned to the United States at the end of 1945. Question 19. What do you think might have happened there if you had not been there at that time? What do you think might have happened if the American Jewish chaplains had not been in Europe to help the survivors of the Holocaust? This is a difficult question for me to reply to. How can one know what would have happened or what might have happened? All I can say is, thank God that Jewish chaplains and Jewish GIs were in Europe at this time. They did everything possible to assist these unfortunate people and made life a little easier for them. And they encouraged them. The fact is that when I came to the first service in Paris, for instance, when I came in and they saw a Jewish chaplain, so many of these people came around me and touched my chaplain's insignias with their hands and kissed it. And we chaplains, I would say, brought a great deal of courage and to the survivors. The fact is that they were able to see American officers and rabbis, and their morale was lifted up. This is aside from the great material assistance that was given to them. And then I already mentioned before the work that the chaplains did in helping survivors, getting the names and assisting them in various ways. I do not want to repeat what I said earlier. Question number 20, is there any area that I have not touched upon that you feel should be discussed? If so, please be as specific as possible. Do you have any other comments you would like to make before we end this interview? No, there's nothing that I can think of at this moment. I hope I was helpful to you in the study that you are making. The total picture should come out after interviewing, and I hope that you will get the assistance of all the chaplains who served in the European area, and the total picture will come out, and I'm glad that I was of some assistance to you. Thank you very much.